Hey everybody, welcome to Make Sense and happy Freedom Friday. You are in the place where we do exactly what the title says to the best of our abilities every single day. We're trying to make the things that are crazy, confusing, the areas where you need clarity, the ones where you're like, we're trying to make it make sense. And if it can't make sense, if it's nonsense, we tell you that too. And we try to give you calls to action and things that you can do about it. Welcome. It's been a packed week. We've got lots of great content. I want to ask you right up at the top, if you're not already subscribed, subscribe now and like now, subscribe now, share now, please, so that we can continue growing and moving. And if you would like to support us, we certainly would appreciate the support. You can do it through business PayPal, through Monique Pressley TV, and through Cash App, $ Monique Pressley TV, or through sharing the information. That's another way that you can support us. And if you would like to sponsor, you can request information about that at sponsorship@moniquepressley.com. So all the ways, all the things, we're doing them. And in the midst of these trying times, we're still trying to find the ways to find joy, experience joy, express joy, take ourselves out of ourselves. Woo, be free. Have you exercised today? I did. Woohoo! I've been getting my exercise in, which, endorphins helps you feel better and then helps you be stronger and gives you more mental clarity. And we need all of our brain cells, child, right along through here. We need every last one of them. So on Freedom Friday, we do week in review. And there are many things that were happening this week, but I'm just going to highlight a couple of them for you because, as I said, we've been covering things each day. I would invite you to either go to the playlist so you can just get caught up on all of the Make It Make Sense, or you can just look at this past week, the things that we've been sharing, starting with Motivation Monday. Now we're all the way at Freedom Friday, week in review. And there are just a couple of few things that I want to discuss with you. The first of which is the hideous. And what I mean by hideous is hideous actions that this Trump administration has announced with respect to the Department of Justice. I've told you all many times that the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice, as we knew it, would be no longer, that the goal would be to put somebody in there who didn't care anything about doing the job at all. And the other goal would be to systematically dismantle anything that looked like progress for civil rights, for Black folks, for Black and brown folks, for disabled folks, for people who that division of the Department of Justice is supposed to be out here protecting. And they are mandated by law to enforce laws like the Civil Rights Amendment, and they are using every bit of discretion they have to do something completely different than that. The Justice Department this week moved to drop police reform agreements with Louisville, Kentucky, and with Minneapolis, Minnesota. The U.S. Department of Justice said on Wednesday that it is moving to drop police reform agreements known as consent decrees that the Biden-era department reached with the cities of Louisville, Kentucky, and Minneapolis, Minnesota. The court enforceable agreements were born out of probes launched after the 2020 police killings, murders of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. The agreements with Minneapolis and Louisville, which were intended to address allegations of systemic unconstitutional policing and civil rights violations, were both held up in federal court and have faced several delays, with the DOJ requesting various extensions to file documents requested by federal judges in each case. And now what they're doing, it's not even being held up anymore. Now they're just saying we ain't gonna do them at all. Like we're quitting whatever we intended to do. It's not going to be happening anymore. And the thing that you should understand about a consent decree is that it is not something that is forced upon local municipal governments and police departments, it means what it says. It is a consent decree, meaning both parties have agreed, and the party, the police department that has had the systemic police misconduct, is acknowledging that they have a pattern and practice that violates constitutional standards and violates municipal and state laws. And they have agreed that they need oversight in order to get their department in order. And what the federal government, via the Trump administration and Pam Bondi's DOJ, have now said is, oh, but we don't care. We don't care. We're not going to do it. It doesn't matter that people are supposed to be kept safe, and that that's what these consent decrees are for, and that they were proven necessary through not just one murder in each town, but through repetitive actions that violate the rights of citizens who police departments swear to protect and serve, and instead they were prey. That's not supposed to be happening, and they've decided they're going to do nothing about it. And my dear friend, who you all know, we've had on Make It Make Sense any number of times, and he was my very first guest 3 years ago. I can't believe it's been 3 years, over 3 years, but it was my very first guest. But Attorney Ben Crump represents both families, Breonna Taylor's family and the family of George Floyd. And he released a statement about what the Department of Justice is doing from his firm, Ben Crump Law, Trial Lawyers for America. He's responding to the DOJ's decision to abandon police reform agreements in Minneapolis and in Louisville. And he says as follows: just days before the 5th anniversary of George Floyd's murder, a moment that galvanized a global movement for justice, the U.S. Department of Justice has chosen to turn its back on the very communities it pledged to protect. By walking away from consent decrees in Minneapolis and Louisville and closing its investigation into the Memphis Police Department while retracting findings of serious constitutional violations, the DOJ is not just rolling back reform. It is attempting to erase truth and contradicting the very principles for which justice stands. This decision is a slap in the face to the families of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Tyree Nichols, and to every community that has endured the trauma of police violence and the false promises of accountability. These consent decrees and investigations were not symbolic gestures. They were lifelines for communities crying out for change, rooted in years of organizing, suffering, and advocacy. These moves will only deepen the divide between law enforcement and the people they are sworn to protect and serve. Trust is built with transparency and accountability, not with denial and retreat. But let me be clear, we will not give up. This movement will not be swayed or deterred by fickle politics. It is anchored in the irrefutable truth that Black lives matter, and that justice should not depend on who is in power. We will continue to fight for the reforms we know are necessary for federal oversight that hold police departments accountable, for an end to the brutalization of our communities, for a future where justice is not an exception, but the rule. I appreciate every single word from my brother Ben. I know that he means it. And one of the things that he always says to me is, don't talk about it, get in the arena. He says, get in the arena, king, get in the arena, queen, and fight. And that is what we must do. So you're thinking, okay, we don't have the Federal Department of Justice. What do we do? What do we do? I'll tell you. If you go look at my show from yesterday at noon, we covered in its entirety the meeting of civil rights organizations and U.S. attorneys general in the affected cities, the cities that are affected by this DOJ announcement that they are backing away and dismantling all of the work that was done by the prior administration. Remember Sleepy Joe and Kamala the cop, all the work that they did trying to keep Black and brown people safe? That's what's being dismantled now. But these leaders held a press conference, a joint press conference by Zoom, and we covered the entire hour. So just go to Monique Pressley channel, go to my channel and look at the presser. Many of your questions are answered. National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, was there and represented. Legal Defense Fund was there and represented. U.S. Attorneys General from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Louisville, Kentucky, New York. My sis Tish James, that's Bison, HU, you know, they were all there. They shared. They talked about what states will doing to step up and continue their oversight since the federal government is dropping off. They talked about as organizing entities and legacy civil rights organizations and lawyers committees, what they will be doing to step up and to continue to hold this administration accountable. So if you're interested in that or interested in what you can do, I advise go look. You will get all of the information that you possibly can by going there. But that being said, it's Freedom Friday, and I am so thankful that we have some good news from the branch of government that is actually still serving as it was meant to serve, a check to what unfettered, untethered power would look like. The judicial branch is doing its work. We heard yesterday that a federal judge is blocking as unlawful the Trump administration's executive order where Trump is ordering the Secretary of the Department of Education to close down and dismantle the department. I think we have something we can put on the screen about that. The judge has ordered a block of the Trump administration from closing the education department. On Thursday, a federal judge in Massachusetts issued a preliminary injunction blocking President Trump and U.S. Education Secretary Linda McMahon from carrying out Trump's executive order calling for the secretary to close the education department. The judge also told the administration to reinstate education department employees who lost their jobs during the reduction in force announced on March 11th and to restore the department to status quo. Thousands of people had lost their jobs, and the judge is saying, no, you can't. It's unlawful. And the judge goes on to explain that there is no way that he can look at. I think I may even have some more of it. Let me see if I can just give you some additional information about it. Yep. It was District Judge Myung Jun in Boston who granted the preliminary injunction, stopping the Trump administration from carrying out its plans announced in March. It marks a setback to one of the president's campaign promises because remember, guys, anti-intellectualism is the point. They want you dumb. They want you done. That's the attack on Harvard. I don't know if you saw the breaking news today. A judge has already said that what the administration tried to do yesterday, preventing Harvard University from enrolling students from abroad, that's illegal. They try stuff. They throw it up against the wall. They see if it's going to stick. They don't mind going in court. They don't mind spending your tax dollars paying government lawyers to go in court for these frivolous positions. The lawsuits argued that layoffs left the department unable to carry out responsibilities required by Congress, including duties to support special education, to distribute financial aid, and enforce civil rights laws. All of those things, the judge says you don't care about, but you're eliminating so many people that I have to care about it because the Department of Education is tasked not by you, Trump, not by you, White House, but by Congress, by law, to do those things. Layoffs of that scale, the judge said, will likely cripple the department. The idea that the defendant's actions are merely a reorganization is plainly not true. Now, of course, they have already they've already filed an appeal. So this is one that is probably going to go all the way up the ranks. But this is where we are finding out, guys. This is one of the things that I said shortly after this man was elected to a second term. We are about to figure out how much Constitution we actually have, how much democracy is still available to us. And this is one of the ways that we are figuring it out. Are we in a constitutional crisis? I don't know. I don't know. Some people say yes, but when we have judges that are still doing their jobs, and when we have the administration backing down and backing off of things, either working through appeals or backing away from them when judges are saying, stop it, that's when we have a constitution working, because the judicial branch is a check on the power of the executive branch. We know Congress is useless right now. The GOP is in charge and they're not doing anything they're supposed to do. But this is good news for the Department of Education, and we will keep you updated about what's going on with that case. Unfortunately, not good news on the big old ugly budget. Not good news about that. I posted about it last week at the end of the week, and you know that the Republican Congress has been trying to pass this bill that is going to bring $800 billion in cuts to Medicaid. 78 million plus people in this country are on Medicaid. 34 million of them are children who are receiving CHIP and SNAP benefits, and they are cutting that in order to provide tax cuts, to extend the tax cuts from the Trump administration part 1 to part 2. And they promised that Medicare would not be touched, and we are finding out now that it is. Well, it passed in the middle of the night. They were going in the middle of the night trying to keep you from knowing what's going on, but of course we've been keeping you informed anyway. They voted in the middle of the night and passed in the House of Representatives. That is not the end of it. Go to your Schoolhouse Rock days if you don't know how it works, but that is not the end of it. They have now sent it over to the Senate. The Senate has to agree with the exact same stuff or it doesn't work, because the way that they snuck all of this in the first place is under reconciliation. So they're taking bills in small parts in committees and doing them one part at a time and then sending them over to the Senate. And there can't be any substantial changes to it or they have to start over again. So now is where we want to be contacting our senators. 202-226-3121. It's where you want to be contacting our senators and telling them you about to lose your job. Because as I explained to you earlier in the week on my program, and also if you want to look at the full of it, go to my The Week with Monique last week on Don Lemon's channel. I pulled up on the map and showed you all the different states. Wherever you are, Louisiana, Florida, Texas, California, Georgia, Utah, Arizona, thousands upon millions of people who are going to be affected by this. So again, we need you to be active. If you have a phone, you got a platform, we need you to use it. Okay? Woo! That's the week in review, folks. I want to ask you again, please support my channel. Please subscribe. If you're not already subscribed, please share the content. Please like the videos, and please support us. If you'd like to support independent media, we'd love for you to do it. If you'd like to sponsor, email us, sponsorship@moniquepressley.com. Or if you just want to support through giving, we appreciate that. You can go to our business PayPal, paypal.com/Monique Pressley TV, or through Cash App, $Monique Pressley TV. Thank you for everything that you do in order to help us get the truth, the facts, the data, the expertise, and yes, the commentary, quality commentary by people who know what they're talking about. Thank you for helping us to get it out there. We appreciate you. Enjoy your weekend. Do something that makes you laugh. Get some rest. Take some steps. Get those feet in the ground. Do some grounding. Let those feet touch grass. Get offline for a bit. All the things we've been talking about this week. Do those things. Until I see you next time, stay safe out there.